Good evening and welcome to Muse on the News. I'm giggling because while the credits were rolling, these pair were dancing away in their happy little selves, and I was trying to be all professional, and then they made me laugh. So, hello, I'm Lisa.
I'm Kel.
I'm Morgan.
And we are delighted to be with you this evening for Muse on the News. And it's our little news show where we pick out some news stories of the week and give you our musings on them. So, anyway, how's everyone? How's your week been?
Yeah, good.
All right.
Yeah.
We're
on a week off. So the digital team has been on a week off. So nobody who would be regularly tuning in got to see us last week. So I hope they'll be happy to us back.
I'm sure they were devastated.
We'll be back, good.
Yeah, it's good to be back though, isn't it?
Yes, I feel refreshed and recharged.
Yeah.
Rejuvenated.
Whether I'll feel rejuvenated by the end of recording this show.
We always end it on a high. What are you talking about? Right, okay, so without further ado, we've got 3 news articles, and I think, Morgan, you're going to deliver the first one this evening.
I am. So this article is that this is a claim from a former key advisor to the government that the LGBT community has been forgotten during the pandemic. And so this is Professor Catherine Meads, who is a professor of health at Anglia Ruskin University, and who was a member of the former LGBT advisory panel, which again has also been recently disbanded by the government. But it's also she, as a professor of health, her main kind of research area is kind of examining kind of health statistics and health outcomes, and she is saying that there is the LGBTQ plus community has been hit harder, and it's been also been forgotten in the response to the pandemic. And she is quoting information coming out of America that is showing that there is a kind of a clear impact on our community based on the comorbidities that LGBTQ plus people are normally to have. But what she is very clear about, that she's not saying that the government is saying that there isn't a problem. It's just that the government is saying that there is no data. So it's kind of it's almost like a plea that it seems to be from Professor Meads, that she is asking that there needs to be more data collection on this, so the health services can properly provide services where they're needed, especially for communities such as ours that is generally forgotten about, is generally kind of left on the sidelines when it comes to health. So it's really important that we are kind of ensuring that the government is getting the information so they can ensure that the funding is there, but it's to provide services. And it's also not just our community as well. It's what Professor Meads is saying is that it's almost all minority and oppressed communities have been forgotten, because there is no kind of emphasis on these communities by the government to get the data. So it's kind of a real call for action, I find, from Professor Meads.
How does she feel we've been impacted?
Say that again.
How does she feel we've been impacted?
So what she's saying about the information that's coming out of America is that because the LGBTQ plus community is more vulnerable to getting COVID-19 because of, and what she's quoting the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, is that they released a report in February which says that people who are part of our community are more likely to have comorbidities such as asthma, cancer, heart disease, obesity, and stroke. And obviously, while those affect everyone, it's the community that we're in, because because of the experience that we have in terms of stigmatization and discrimination, it's increasing the vulnerability we have to illness, and it also increases the vulnerability that we feel about going to a health professional to seek medical help, which is kind of, I think that's what her and what kind of the impetus on this is that because our community is normally, it's more likely to not ask for medical help at times, that kind of puts us at a much more vulnerable and more kind of dangerous position when it comes to COVID-19.
That's really interesting. It hadn't occurred to me, but I
I'm
guess
probably misquoting her completely, and obviously nothing I'm saying I'm attributing to Professor Meads, but just from reading the article, it's really interesting about the community of such an oppressed group, such as the LGBTQ plus community, is that I think it's been shown in terms of other oppressed groups as well, is that when we're forced to the sidelines, it's much more difficult for us to then go to the GP to ask for help because of the stigmatization that we feel.
And it's a very basic thing, isn't it? Being able to go to your doctor without worrying, without being anxious, without having to sort of justify who you are and what your lifestyle is, and it's tricky. Yeah. And it hadn't occurred to me, but actually it makes perfect sense. And she and her colleagues on that advisory panel to the government are a sad loss for our community, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I do hope that the government will reconsider that and will reinstate that advisory panel, because they are crucial, because who else is representing us?
Exactly.
So yeah.
Anyway. I think that's a really important point in terms of, I think this is, again, Professor Meads in the article is not saying that the government isn't doing it, or it's just that the government is not collecting the data. So we don't know what it is, but it's based on the report out of America. But I think the action that the government has taken, I think in terms of dismissing the panel, and I think the recent action from the Equalities Minister on Stonewall and other government departments is a real kind of indication of their direction of travel, and it going away from the LGBTQ plus community rather than bringing us further in to government decision making. So I think it's really concerning to me, and it's also concerning. I think it's concerning for us, for our entire community, but also the members of our community that are much more marginalised than the members of the community like me, a cis gay man. I face much fewer barriers and discrimination than a trans member of the community, and it's all a person of colour or such as that. And I think there has to be a much greater emphasis on intersectionality when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community, and how the different experiences that we all have, they all kind of make up our tapestry of a community. And it's important that we see the entire tapestry, not just the cis white gay men like me, even in our communities that are in kind of positions of power, like we're in positions of power in the majority of society, straight as cis white men. Even in the LGBTQ plus community, we have to address that. We have to look at how do we ensure that all of our voices are heard, and that the government, whatever government may be, listens and hears us and is able to then ensure that good policy is put into place.
There are whisperings, though, aren't there? There's going to be some kind of advisory board, some panel in another guise, isn't there? Trust.
There will be. I think there has to be, especially with the Government Equalities Office. I do think there will be something, whether it has the same remit or kind of policy focus, or just also how that panel interacts with the minister. For the Equalities Minister and the civil servants. And I think it has to be open and it has to be transparent as to what that panel is there to do. Is that panel there just to be, we've got some gays,
It can't be tokenistic.
No, it
There's
has
got
to
to
be
be a
a,
real purpose, and there's got to be a clear path.
and it's
In
like, I
terms
think,
of, and a two-way path in terms of
yeah,
like listening
absolutely.
to the community and feeding those views in, and actually it's not even just feeding them in. My frustration is, and I'm getting on my hobby horse now, but my frustration is that often I just feel that we're not heard where we need to be heard.
Yeah.
And all these years on, we should be heard in the same way that every other group is. We should be. We should be heard, and our issues should be recognized. The issues and the challenges that the community face need to be recognised and acted upon by the government, because I'm really interested in the stats that are going to come out of the census, and I'm really interested in this country beginning to track things in the same way the CDC has in America in this article, because it's only then that we'll truly understand how things are for the LGBT community in this country. And we three here, and I'm sure plenty of our viewers too, can make an educated guess. And we could certainly write paper after paper on our thinkings on that, but we need to see evidence of it. And it's only when we begin to have those statistical pieces of evidence that we can actually bring about some real positive change.
Yeah. And I think when we have groups that are minority groups and that have not different medical needs, but very kind of almost specific medical needs at times, and what the impact that society has on that group, it's important that the government, I think the government is important that the government has the information of how things affect those groups, because otherwise you're never ever really able to make the right decision, whatever that decision may be, whatever and I think the government should be demanding that information. I think the Equalities Minister should be saying, in order to do my job correctly, I need to have the information. It's not about
that data's collected, though, isn't it? Because in one way, yes, we want that data and we want to be able to use that data for the greater good, but in another way, that does actually involve every time you go to your doctors because you've got a rash on your bum, being asked who it is you sleep with and what your gender identity is. And not everybody feels comfortable with that. So, how do we collate that data in a way that's comfortable for everybody? Yeah.
No, that's a good point. And I don't know. Yeah. And I think, and I guess the real problem is that there is no data at all. I think, so we don't even know almost anything. So it's really difficult to I think that the hardest question is what you just said, Kel, is how do we gather data that is sensitive but also gives us information? Then that's got to be the next step in terms of addressing this issue. So it's like, I've seen statistics in terms of how other groups have been affected during COVID, and it's quite startling that they're the groups that are minority groups, especially people of colour, elderly, how it has affected them. And it's especially affected in terms of, for example, there was one statistic I saw was ethnic minority families, 1 in 4 ethnic minority families have had no access to open green space for over a year during lockdown. And that's based on purely the types of, where ethnic minority families will generally live. So I think it raises so many other questions of housing and urban development and planning and green spaces. And that's how we make the policy, is by statistics saying 1 out of 4 ethnic minority families have had no access to green space. So it shows a real issue. And that's how you're then able to make a decision. I think that's essential for our community as well.
Again, easier statistics generally to collate, aren't they? Because it's a visible characteristic which can be recorded on, but on behalf of somebody without even necessarily asking.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of assumptions are made there, but it's easier data to collate.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, we could talk on and on
and
on.
We could. And when we're on the government advisory panel, we will bring this up with Liz Truss.
Yes, yeah, open to invites.
We'll say to her, the medical profession needs to know, because I'm fed up with being asked if I could possibly be pregnant every time I go to the doctors about a cough.
Yeah.
I get that question all the time as well.
Do you? Could you be pregnant? No. Are you sure? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you really sure? Yeah. How do you know? I just do.
I just know.
Right. Okay. So the next article is mine, and it's an article from a publication close to our heart. So it's from Diva magazine, and we cover a lot of Divas articles on this show because we really, really like it. And I like this headline: "Rainbows are for life and not just for June." And you know, it's such a double-edged sword, Pride Month, isn't it? Because like, I always get excited about Pride Month because, you know, you see more representation across the whole of society and the community, and there's more stuff on the telly that's representative of our people, and you know, it's a really lovely time. But at the same time, it's also quite frustrating to see suddenly all the big corporates out with their rainbow logos, and you know, it comes from a good place, I guess, you know, that they're wanting to express their support. But I just kind of think, what do you do in May and April and March?
It feels cynical, doesn't it? It feels cynical because literally everyone's twanging a rainbow on their
logos.
Logo. Yeah, and you think, you know, what is it you're doing? And they all claim to support the LGBTQI community, but you know, what is it? They're giving, you know, 2p from every terrible rainbow T-shirt they sell to, you know, to Stonewall, and thinking that that's support.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. What do you think, Morgan?
Oh, I'm like you, Lisa. I mix when it comes to Pride Month. A part of me is really happy that nowadays it's so kind of welcoming that big corporations and big organizations really want to shout about how much they support the LGBTQ plus community. But then it's always like, oh, why does it's only ever in Pride Month? You never, like, I could, even if they just did it in November, I could at least appreciate it more. But it's kind of like, oh, now it's the time to do it, so we'll do it now. And then in July we go back to our normal logo, and it's kind of, it does feel cynical at times, and I just don't know if that's just organisations just wanting to show their support, and they have kind of, my defense of organisations, they have kind of requests to support all types of things, and and it's like, oh, we'll support you during Pride Month because that's when Pride Month is, and for example, we do on International Women's Day, we do this, and Black History Month we do that, and it's I don't want to bash them, but sometimes it does feel a bit, it's the gay time now, so we'll do it now.
With some brands especially, because some of them you think, oh, fair play, nice one, cheers, you know, and when local councils do it and libraries do it, and you know, there are some supermarkets, our local Sainsbury's got a sign out all year round saying that, you know, that they support the community, and you know, they give examples of that. But then when you get, you know, just, I wouldn't want to say, because I wouldn't want to bring anybody to shame, but there are some organisations who don't necessarily put hand in hand with our community, twanging a rainbow on their logo and saying hooray for gay.
And a big concern that I also have is that there are some big corporations that some will run it. It's that there are, during the year, there are things that come out that are always kind of raising questions about things, and then during Pride Month it's kind of like their time to brush that all away. But on the positive, I think Pride Month is great. I think looking at where we probably were 30 years ago, you couldn't have gotten anyone to have had a rainbow.
5 years ago,
even 5 years ago. And I think it does show how far we are coming, and I think maybe that's the way Pride Month is at the moment. It's just the way things almost kind of need to be to kind of get beyond.
It's visibility, and that's a good thing. And one thing I will say for a lot of these corporations, and not everybody watches our shows knows, but I also look after the communications and PR for Pride in Surrey. We've been contacted by a lot of really big organisations this Pride Month saying, will you come and talk to our staff, or will you do a Zoom with HR? Will you come and talk to us about this and explain what it is? So people are looking to engage and understand, and to, you know, to really put into place positive changes, and to understand what Pride Month is. So it's not all bad. And I think, the visibility, and more people that can see the Pride logo, and more people become comfortable with that. And I think the education will sink in and will settle in, and we will get somewhere by it.
I think it's also about asking questions, and it's about education, and it's about connecting, and it's about celebrating. And I think it's really what our community is all about. And I think so I do think a lot of people are kind of really excited to experience Pride as allies. They really want to feel the love that we've had to build for ourselves. I think they want to experience that as just as much as we do. And I think that's definitely Pride should always be welcoming and inclusive to everyone, who, no matter who you are, Pride is for you. But I think it's a lot of people really want to experience that as well. I think that's great. And I think it is great that organisations now are kind of, as you're saying, broadening out, kind of taking more conscious decisions to kind of improve their equality and inclusivity and diversity as well. And it's not just even for our community, but it's all it's everyone, really.
I'll tell you something I love about Pride Month.
What?
Well, on a certain TV channel, am I allowed to say the channel?
Yes, of course you can.
So, well, I'm sure lots of other channels have done it too, but on Channel 4, they've put together a Pride collection, and it's available on all 4. You can go in and just search for the Pride collection, and it brings up loads of queer programming, and we've watched a couple of bits of it over the weekend.
It's a Russell T Davies fan's wet dream, because it's everything he's ever done on there. But there's some good documentaries. There was a documentary that was done by our very good friend of Pride in Surrey, Matt Mahmood Ogston, from the Naz and Matt Foundation, called My God, I'm Queer, which sort of represents the Muslim queer experience, which is very interesting. There's some really, really good stuff on there. So for broadcasters to be getting behind it and actually putting some stuff out, not just for us, but for our allies and for people that are curious to come along and have a look, I think is.
But the way they're advertising it, they've got like rainbow confetti just streaming across the screen for about 3 minutes while they just speak about what the Pride collection is, and it's just so nice. Like when you look up at the telly and it's just there in front of your face, it's just.
I think in terms of broadcasters, I do think
are really good. I think.
Like broadcasters, I think they see that there is a real market in providing queer content, and I think over the last 2-3 years, you've definitely seen this kind of market change by broadcasters really catering to the queer community, but it's also providing entertainment that everyone really enjoys. You don't need to think about It's a Sin or Pose.
Everybody watched it and everybody loved it. Yeah.
Everybody loves it. Like those shows are so interesting because it's showing us a part of our past, but as we all know, the LGBT community is so colourful and entertaining. It's natural entertainment for everyone to enjoy. Like Pose, I can't wait to watch season 3. I can't wait to watch season 3.
It's the last season as well, but isn't it absolutely fabulous? I love that.
It is, and just in terms of queer programming, Channel 4, we mustn't forget, they were trailblazers for queer.
Yeah.
Queer as Folk back in the 90s. I remember when that hit the screen. We'd never seen anything like it.
I remember I remember being in my teens, early teens, sneaking to watch Queer as Folk. It blew my mind because you saw something on TV, you saw yourself on TV almost. Obviously at different points of my teenage years, but it's that I can only imagine what it would have been like to have been kind of an adult. I was still relatively young when Queer as Folk came out. Like to have what was the discussion? I can imagine what the debate was of the people who didn't want that to be on TV.
It caused uproar. It really did.
Well, let's go back to Brookside. You're going to go back to
Brookside. Where Beth Jordash had literally a peck on the blinking lips with that little ginger one. And crikey, the newspapers the day afterwards, you would have think that they'd shown some real hardcore scenes. But after Queer as Folk, we had to wait another 15 years before the lesbians got anything raunchy, and even then it was, on American TV, and we all had to get Sky or pay-per-view to actually watch it.
Yeah, but you would pay.
That was back when we still used to buy DVDs, and we had to wait for DVD and binge that. But we've got nothing like the L word anymore, have we?
And I think what Pride Month now is really showing us is that to kind of experience LGBTQ plus content is kind of becoming almost mainstream.
Yeah.
Because if you go back even 5 years ago, if you wanted to buy Queer as Folk on box set or something, it would normally be hidden somewhere, and it wouldn't be with all the others. It would be in like this. It would be in the LGBT section,
or
adult section, yeah. And I think now, it's just people are just consuming this content like they consume other content, and I think that's what Pride Month really does show, and the way Pride Month is at the moment. Yes, there's questions about the exploitation of the pink pound and the cynical corporate side of Pride Month, but there's also, I think, it's this wide acceptance of our community as a whole. Yes, maybe only for a month, but I think it is, as we're saying, it's that stepping stone onto greater acceptance.
But it's an opportunity for us to educate as well. Somebody asked me today, like, what is Pride Month and why is it in June? And it gave me a real opportunity to go back and explain about the Stonewall riots and that the meaning of that, and that being a catalyst for the movement. And it really gave me an opportunity, just in a couple of minutes in a conversation, to make somebody think about how far we've had to come. And I think many people don't realise that, do they? People think it's easy.
Yeah, like when people think of Stonewall, they think of the charity, the massive LGBTQ plus charity that is today. But not many people know how Stonewall was formed. And I think it is. You're saying it's that opportunity to say, well, actually, there were these riots where this queer community responded violently to police brutality and police oppression, and that's where it all began, this fight for equality. And this is where now this direction of travel has gone from a riot to this major charity that is so trusted and so beloved.
Certainly not deserving of the attacks that it's received.
No. And it's
but one last thing before we move on, I just wanted to, because I love it, just on that Pride collection on Channel 4, there is Tales of the City, and if anybody hasn't watched it, just
I've not seen that. I'll have to watch it.
You need to watch it. It's our Mr. What was his name? Lorpin, I think. But it's brilliant, and it had the wonderful, beautiful, perfect Olympia Dukakis in it, and she passed away recently, and I loved her more than Jaffa Cakes. So if you want to experience her work up close and personal, go and look at Tales of the City on All 4, because it's fabulous.
You'll enjoy it, Morgan.
You will like it.
I know you will, and you will enjoy it.
I'll have to check out. Because the thing is, I didn't even know that Channel 4 had their Pride collection.
You should have just asked Lynn. She knows where all the content is.
I'll have to give it a look, which I think that's, and not to make this even longer, but I think that's great. It is that a broadcaster has gone, you know what, you want to find out more, just literally go to More 4, type in Pride, and we'll show you everything we've got.
Yeah, and the documentaries that are on there are well worth a watch. And that My God, I'm Queer, is it My God, I'm Queer? Yeah. From the Nazamat Foundation, absolutely fantastic, and would really recommend that people tune into that one, because that's a meaty one.
Very moving. Yeah, very moving.
Right, okay, lovely. Right, last one. That's yours, my darling.
My story is probably the best story I've seen in so long, and I want to be able to share stories like this every week on Muse on the Muse, because this is people power. So let me just get this up. I'm not sure that's worked for you there, has it? No, right, 1 second.
We'll wait for it, because the pictures are worth seeing.
Yeah, so there's a bakery in Texas, and in honor of Pride Month, they created a rainbow cookie. Oh, let me get rid of this. Right, so they created a rainbow cookie, and they popped a little picture of their rainbow cookie on Instagram. There we go, look. So they popped this beautiful biscuit on their Instagram and said Happy Pride Month, and thought absolutely nothing of it. Subsequently, they lost 2,500 of their Instagram followers. They had a large corporate order cancelled, as they were told that that we simply don't do business with other businesses who support queers and who sympathise with such a dirty lot, and they lost a lot of revenue.
They just baked the order, haven't they?
They had baked the order. The order was ready to rock and roll, and they were devastated.
And just to give it some context, it's a two-man band, isn't it?
It's a tiny bakery. It's two sisters, and they bake biscuits and lovely cakes, and they've got a little, almost like a hole-in-the-wall shop in tiny town in Texas, and it's their bread and butter. Anyway, so they popped something online saying we're absolutely heartbroken, and we were just trying to show people that love is love, and everybody's loved by our bakery and our team, and we just wanted to to get involved and show support for the community. Anyway, the power of people. So the next day, they had this queue form around the block for their bakery. They sold out. They put the whole cancelled order all on the shelf for $3 a piece. It's sold out. Every single item in their bakery sold out. They've got pre-orders. They've got corporate orders. They've got orders for birthday parties galore. The people really came out for these people to show their love and respect and support. And the two girls that run this bakery are absolutely overwhelmed with the love they've received and the new custom they've got. They've gained thousands and thousands more social media followers from people that have seen this story, who have picked up on this. And this has been picked up around the world, and it's basically just a little Instagram thread. And I think it's absolutely beautiful, and it warms my heart, and it makes me happy that people came out to support this company who had been punished for showing support and love for our community.
It's so wonderful, isn't it? I just think to see that community there rallying around that little small business and the two ladies who run it, I think is just fantastic. And I think this actually demonstrates how far we have come, because maybe a decade or a decade and a half ago, had that happened, it would have been the end of the business.
Yeah.
People wouldn't have been willing to queue and support that business, and wouldn't have bothered, and would have been absolutely
and I think it really does show the people power of a community, no matter what that community is. And I think it really does show, and as you're saying, it shows how far we have come, and I think that's great. And I'm just thinking now of this bakery that probably had like this bread which was never a good seller, and they're talking how are we going to sell this bread, and they probably sold it. And that kind of made me chuckle. But what really about that article I really liked was right at the end when they're saying they had nothing left, but people were just coming in and just making a donation, and that shows a real level of support that people really want to give. Because I think on something like a bakery, and you want to show your support, you would queue, you get there, nothing's left, you go, okay, oh well. But if you're willing to go, you know what, I know nothing's left, but I'm going to give you $10.
The actual story, when you dig further into that, the people were coming in saying, what can I have? And they were saying, there's nothing left, will you make a donation? The donations weren't to the bakery, so the ladies were asking people to donate to the local dog shelter.
Oh.
So they were passing the love on. They weren't sticking it in the bank and saying, I'll bake you a biscuit tomorrow. They were, passing the love on and helping local charities that they support and they believe in. So I just what a lovely story of a community coming together and supporting.
I also am just kind of chuckling at this thought of this bakery going, well, we bake that because that's our stock for the rest of the week. We got nothing left now, and we can't even open tomorrow.
They did have to put little things up saying, like, we've got to close at 2 because we've run out of everything, and like, please bear with us. We're going to open a bit late tomorrow because we're going to bake extra because we know you all want stuff. So it was really lovely, and even if it's just their 15 minutes of fame,
and that's lovely. But then what I do think that does, I think that really does build a community level of support, that people they'll want to go back to that bakery. They'll probably, not to buy 100 cookies, but they'll go and buy a cake to support that local business, which they may not have known existed. And that's the thing. And I think that's great for local businesses and it really normally is the local businesses that really do show the such great support for the LGBTQ plus community as well. And I think it's great that business like that kind of get that recognition and they get that level of support. And I can only imagine those two sisters thinking, we've just baked off 2,500 cookies. What are we going to do with this? We're never going to be able to shift all this stock. We're going to have to waste it. We're losing money. And to have all of that support must have been such kind of weight lifted off their mind. It's lovely.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me a little bit of when Starbucks did the mermaid cookies. And I know we're talking about a big, massive corporation here, but they had a bit of backlash. And even here locally, there was a bit of backlash to our, to our branches of Starbucks on our doorstep here for selling those cookies for mermaids. And our kids insisted on going to both the nearest stores so that they could buy all of the cookies to give to their friends and to people who they thought needed to know about the cookies and why the cookies were necessary. And, I just think people are good. People are inherently good. Expressions of love like this.
The guy in our local one, the closest one where we can walk to, he said, "Hey, we haven't got any." He said, "People are going mad for these." He said, "Particularly since there's been uproar on the news." He said, "People are coming in." He said, "I bought 2 and I don't even like them." So people we're really wanting to show their support for a worthy cause, and to hell with what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, it's all good, right, very good, right, very good. It's you next again.
It's not me.
Oh no, it's not.
No,
Morgan.
Actually, Morgan, and I think your word is a fantastic word this week, but let me just
give it a build up,
because obviously everybody knows we're a fully professional outfit here at LGBTQ+ online.
Yeah.
No expense spared.
Nothing.
Word of the week. Word of the week. Word of the week.
So we need to get Stephen on that and see if he can make us a nice proper jingle.
But I like that one. Do you not like that one? Right, please write in if there's any talented musicians out there.
Yeah, we need a word of the week jingle.
I don't want you to make me a jingle. I just want you to provide feedback on the one that we made.
Don't do make a jingle.
Your word, Morgan.
So the word of the week this week is, drum roll please. Okay. Cacophony.
Oh, I love this word.
I love this word because for 2 reasons. I like the way it sounds, and I think cacophony is a great way to describe pride. And I think loud, confusing, disagreeable sounds probably not the best way to describe pride, but I think a cacophony of sound is like this overwhelming sound. I think that's a great way to kind of think of pride. Raucous, yes. Yeah. Boisterous. And I think that's a great. Rambunctious. Yes, that's a great way to describe it. So I love cacophony. I like the way the word cacophony sounds. It sounds. You sound like saying it.
It is mellifluous, isn't it? That's a lovely word as well.
I like that word.
We'll thank that for a word of the week in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh no, it's nothing special for me. I just use it in my everyday.
Yeah.
No.
But cacophony, it does. It sounds lovely. Cacophony.
There'll be a cacophony on the 25th of September when we're parading through the beautiful market town of Godalming, won't there?
Yes, certainly will. Certainly will. Will you be there, Morgan?
I will be there.
Of course you will.
Yes.
Of course I will be.
Will our viewers be there? Will our listeners be there?
Will you be there?
So.
You better be. We want to meet you all.
Yeah.
Yeah. All these people that send us the emails and the messages, we want to know you.
Entry passes are being snapped up, so actually, no joke. You need to register to attend. That's just so that we can keep an eye on our numbers, really. But if you visit www.prideinsurrey.org, you'll find all the information on there, and you can just click a little button to get your entry pass. And yeah, please do book your entry pass. Really important. But yeah, we've got a lovely parade route in Godalming.
Yeah, it's going to be gorgeous. Yeah. And because summer started so late, because it was obviously horrific until last week, we're going to have a late summer. So don't panic that it's the 25th of September, because it's going to have a long Indian summer this year, and it is going to be absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, it's a 100-day heat parade.
Yes.
So that'll take us well into September.
Yeah, and Pride this year is going to be bigger and better than Pride was in 2019. Was it in 2019?
Yes.
Sorry.
We've earned it, haven't we? Our community have earned it. We've all been locked up with, nothing to do.
Remember, we've been forgotten about.
Online.
Yeah.
So it's time to make our voice heard. And that's what I'm really looking forward to at Pride.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be well worth it. And before that, in July, we mustn't forget we've got Pride on the Road, 16th to the 18th of July. So that's us all in a minibus and a truck traveling around the length and breadth of Surrey. So we'll visit all the boroughs.
Bringing
in Surrey.
pride to you.
And I think we almost have the route finalised. So I think the route will be released this week and you'll be able to book in. But save the date, 16th to the 18th.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting out on the road and coming and meeting you guys. So
and we'll be with Shine Fest. Can't remember what
we are going to be at Shine Fest, 11th of September.
Thank you very much. Very good.
Come and meet the team.
Yeah. So
that's a wonderful, inclusive, everybody's welcome festival in Walton-on-Thames. So keep your eye out on our socials for details of that.
Oh,
but anyway, it's all go. We've got a busy summer. But
how lovely is it that we have a busy summer, though? I'm so pleased and I'm so excited. Like, I just can't wait. I can't wait to have all our people together again.
I think it's just really nice, and I think as we're coming out of lockdown, it's this kind of, it is almost the return to normalcy, not to normality, but like just return to things that we've done before.
Yeah.
You know, even if we still have to have restrictions in place or whatever, and I think it's just being able to gather. I think is so important for any community, especially our community, to be able to come together to share an experience is essential.
Do you know who's really looking forward to Pride, Morgan?
Who?
Do you know who's looking forward to Pride? Who's looking forward to some restrictions being lifted? Who's looking forward to being fabulous all summer long?
Who?
John Paul from Manchester,
our goat of the
who
week.
is our goat of the week, who has been nominated by his partner Manuel. He's a house husband, but he's fabulous at it, and he is doing whatever it is he's doing now. But again, fabulous teeth coming from our goat of the week.
He is majestic.
He's beautiful,
isn't he?
Shall I try and
that neck?
Our radio listeners?
Please, would you describe John Paul for our radio listeners and our visually impaired?
It looks like it's a photograph taken in the evening time. It's quite up close, and John Paul is a gorgeous looking white goat. In fairness, he's got a very long, slender neck. And he's looking up into the moonlight, perhaps, or maybe a street lamp. I don't know. And his eyes are closed, and he's just joyously taking in the evening air. And he's got a lovely smile on his face, and he's looking rather happy. I have to say.
Yeah,
I'd say.
I'm enjoying his swooped back horns as well.
Yes,
very
in them.
Yeah, it's almost like that kind of 90s wet look Joe look.
That is exactly what it looks like. He looks like he's a 20-year-old in the 90s.
Oh, he does. It could only be more 90s if he had those horns separated into curtains.
Or if he had a glow stick.
Far and wide for Pride in Surrey. It's not unusual for people to travel from Manchester.
Everybody's welcome.
So if you see any white handsome goats this year's Pride in Surrey,
we've got somebody else important coming from Manchester. A special guest coming to Pride in Surrey.
And keep your ears and eyes peeled, and we will reveal all.
I'm not saying anything.
She's not saying anything because I've just kicked her under the table.
I wasn't going to. I'm just saying that there's somebody brilliant coming from Manchester.
Everyone that's coming to Pride this year is brilliant and fabulous. Every single one of you.
Exciting. Somebody really.
You're all exciting.
Oh, I'm not going to win.
She's not going to win.
No.
You're all fabulous and you're all important and you're all welcome and we can't wait to see you.
We really can't. We really can't. Yeah. It's all good. And you know, as plans are coming together, the team are getting really excited. And it's going to be a really good one. It's going to be a really good one. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. It could be great to have everybody back together. Right. Okay.
We've done well. We've kept it under 3 hours.
I mean, us three, that is an achievement to keep something that short.
It is, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
So,
should you see?
No, because that's not one.
Oh,
that's not what you think it is. We're
not?
Just having a look and seeing which one of our friends we would like to.
Stephen.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yes. We are going to hear from one of our very good friends at Pride in Surrey, the wonderful, fabulous, hilarious Stephen Bailey.
Hi, I'm Stephen Bailey, and I just want to wish a very Merry Christmas to you and everyone at Pride in Surrey. And remember, you are not alone. There's always someone to talk to. And as part of the You Are Not Alone campaign, you can text TALK to 440. That's 88440. And a member of the team will get back to you. Have a great Christmas.
He's very organised with his Christmas.
Can
wishes.
anyone guess when Stephen recorded that message for Pride in Surrey?
Easter?
Oh, that's
Just a few short weeks ago.
Oh, but you know what? Stephen is such a
Merry
good
Christmas.
friend for us. He's really good. I'll tell you something about Stephen Bailey, right? He was in the height of his busyness. He was recording 2 TV shows. He still managed to find time to have a chat with me on Messenger to line us up with Jen Brister and Zoe for some interviews, and Zoe Lyons. And he never forgets. He never forgets, like, the small person. Do you know what I mean?
We met him at one of his gigs
before he was famous.
Before he was even famous, we met him at one of his gigs in a tiny little village hall in Oxford.
Yeah.
Of all places. And he's always remembered us since. So, yeah, he's a good man, a good friend to Pride in Surrey.
So, yeah, forgive us for including a Christmas wish, but he's a joy. He's a real joy. And you watch out for his touring, because he's really very, very
He's
funny.
hilarious, and he's filthy, and he's raunchy, and he's side-splittingly funny. So go and see him.
And makes time for everyone. I just think that's a real, it says something about the man's character.
He said to us once, he says, I don't think I've got fans. He said, I just make loads of new mates.
That's lovely.
And that's a lovely.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah.
He's lovely. He's really, really lovely bloke. Yeah, love him to bits.
Anyway, we love you too, Morgan, but we're going to go because people are probably bored of us after 46 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a joy. Thank you very much for joining us.
Always love it.
Oh,
we beat the viewing figures from my cook along.
Oh,
we won't beat the viewing figures from your cook along. That was unsurpassable.
Yes, extraordinary. But we'll give it a go.
We'll try.
Or maybe you'll come back and cook along with us again.
Oh, I definitely will be back on a cook along soon.
Yeah,
excellent. It's salad weather now, so they're not going to be quite as interesting, are they, cook alongs? 40 minutes chopping an onion.
This week's cook along. Should I just quickly say what this week's cook along?
No, because it's yesterday.
Oh yeah. Right. Okay. Forget it. I'm off. I'm done.
The cook along was.
Goodbye. We don't know what it was yet.
No.
Right. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.